Hey guys, and welcome back to Mad About Skin. If you're new to our channel, welcome. Here at Mad About Skin, we're passionate about helping you to get the most out of your skincare. So if you haven't already, now's a fantastic time to click that link below, subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, and you won't miss out on any of our amazing future content. Now, today we are going to be talking about what is probably the biggest ingredient in skincare ever, and that is hyaluronic acid. I'm probably exaggerating, but over the last 5 years, hyaluronic acid has exploded and is now found in every single skincare product out there, plus standalone hyaluronic acid serums. I have covered this on the channel quite a few times, but in the last sort of 2 months, I've had a lot of you guys come to me and ask me questions about hyaluronic acid, but also saying you're having trouble with incorporating it in your skincare routine and having some adverse reactions to it. So I thought I'm going to sit down today and talk about hyaluronic acid, what it is, what it delivers, but also some of the side effects and the issues that you can get with hyaluronic acid, and ultimately how you can avoid some of those, some tips and tricks for avoiding those. And really we'll work out whether there's actually space for a standalone hyaluronic acid serum in your skincare routine. Now, anybody that has ever read an ingredients list on a skincare product will be familiar with hyaluronic acid. And it's not just hyaluronic acid these days. You get so many different types. You can get the standard hyaluronic acid, you get sodium hyaluronate, you can get low molecular hyaluronic acid, high molecular hyaluronic acid, marine hyaluronics. There's so many different variants of what is a naturally occurring substance in our skin. Hyaluronic acid in its natural form occurs in our skin and is a humectant, which means it draws and retains moisture in the skin. It's a great ingredient to have in your skincare routine if you have dry or parched skin that you're struggling to retain moisture in. By adding the hyaluronic acid, which can retain a number times its own weight in water, will just help to keep the skin hydrated, looking plump, and it can also, with the plumping, lessen the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, so people go to it as a fantastic anti-aging ingredient. However, it seems to have got a reputation as one of those ingredients which you can do whatever you want with, and there's no side effects, it's benign, you can just slap it on your face without consideration, gay abandon, throw it on your skin, and you have no issues at all. And that's just not the case. And so we're going to break that down today, and we're going to work out what some of the issues are, whether you actually need it in your skincare routine, and why a lot of people have started to avoid, including myself, have started to avoid and cut back on the amount of hyaluronic acid in their lives. So from what started as a standalone serum ingredient, which emerged about 5 years ago, the first hyaluronic acid serums came on the market. They took the world by storm. Beauty editors were saying, wow, this is plumping my skin, my fine lines and wrinkles look far less obvious. And it's a lot of people with dry skin were saying, this is my savior, this is my go-to. It then became something that was snuck into and incorporated in just about every skincare product out there. You can get it in creams, it appears in SPFs, it appears in serums, moisturizers, you can even get it in cleansers these days. And so actually, without knowing it, you could be using hyaluronic acid in every single step of your skincare routine. And that, I think, is where it starts to become problematic. Now, about 2 years ago, stories started emerging about hyaluronic acid actually drying out the skin. So some people were saying, hang about, this should be my savior. This should be giving me that gorgeous, dewy, glowing complexion that I crave. And actually, it's leaving my skin parched and dry. How can that be possible? It's a humectant, it retains water. What's going wrong? Well, actually, if it's not used correctly, it can actually lead to a drying of the skin. Now, this is particularly prevalent in warmer climates or in dry air. So say you're living in summer months of a super hot climate, or you're on a plane. A plane is a really good example of where you might slap on a hyaluronic acid serum to keep your skin hydrated throughout your flight, knowing that the air in the plane is quite dry, your skin when you land is often quite parched and dehydrated, so you think, well, I'll counter that by putting on a hyaluronic acid serum. However, hyaluronic acid works by drawing water to it. If there is no water for it to draw from the atmosphere, from the air around you, it will draw water from the deeper levels of your skin into itself. When it reaches there, if it's warm, which often if you live in a warm climate or if you're on a plane where it's artificially heated, it then evaporates. So what it ends up doing is drawing moisture from deep within the skin to the surface, then allowing it to evaporate, and actually ends up drying your skin more than had you not used the product. Which is why I always say it's something, you've got two options to counter this. Either don't use it as an ingredient, particularly if you're living in some countries where it is super warm in the summer, or especially not on a plane. I would just tell people to avoid it as an ingredient if you're using it pre-flight. Or what you can do is apply it to damp skin That way it's going to be drawing from the moisture that's already sitting on the skin as well as from the atmosphere. But also, if you apply an occlusive moisturiser reasonably soon afterwards, that'll prevent that transepidermal water loss, that evaporation, and taking the moisture from your skin out into the atmosphere, into the air, and you losing that moisture. So there are some ways you can deal with the issue of it actually causing drying to the skin. However, it's just a really good example of how a product, if used incorrectly, can actually deliver the wrong results that you're looking for. Something that's emerged in the last 6 months is a lot of people saying hyaluronic acid is actually irritating their skin, or they've had skin irritation for months and months and months and have cut almost everything out, but never cut the hyaluronic acid out because people see it as a benign substance that doesn't cause any issues. You know, everyone says it's safe to use on every skin type, every skin tone, just slap it on and go. And so people don't then exclude that from their skincare routine, and they're baffled as to what causes the irritation. Then there's loads of stories of people finally twigging maybe it's the hyaluronic acid, cutting it out of their routine, and their skin snapping back, becoming gorgeous, unirritated, calm, and exactly what they were trying to achieve almost by using the hyaluronic acid. This is quite baffling, was quite baffling initially to a lot of dermatologists and scientists, and working out something which is naturally occurring in the skin, and therefore shouldn't cause irritation, causing intense irritation. And that actually comes down to, or I believe it comes down to, how the products are formulated. So standalone hyaluronic acid, traditional hyaluronic acid that's found in the skin, doesn't really penetrate deep into the skin. It sits on the surface of the skin, which often means it balls, it pills, and it peels if you add products on top of it, making it just not a very pleasant ingredient to have in your skincare routine. That started to put a lot of people off, saying, actually, I'm finding this just isn't working for me. It's also really hard to incorporate within products. So as a standalone serum, fine, but when you want to incorporate it with other ingredients, it doesn't pair particularly well when mixed in products alongside other ingredients. And so scientists and chemists came together and thought, actually, if we reduce the molecular weight of the hyaluronic acid, it will penetrate the skin, not sitting as a film, as a mask, and therefore you can apply products on top of it without getting that balling, that pilling, that peeling. Solution solved. It also sounds fancy, you know, low molecular weight. Sounds fancy, you can charge more money for it. And that's where the problem started. Because most hyaluronic acids within our skincare are lower molecular weights than what's traditionally found in the skin, it's allowed to penetrate beyond the upper layers of the skin, and that's where it can cause the irritation and the redness, and in some cases peeling. So if you're finding that the hyaluronic acid isn't working for you and it might actually be causing irritation, it's not because of the hyaluronic acid itself, it's the molecular weight of the product which has been formulated to allow it to apply better and to give a deeper level hydration. Finally, we actually use the wrong concentrations. So most scientists and studies show that hyaluronic acid is best used in a concentration of about 0.2 to 0.5%. Even when you get up to 1%, it can start becoming a bit overload. And if you're mixing it if it's found in every single step of your skincare routine, you're not just using it once, you're using it and it's compounding, and you're ending up applying quite a significant amount of hyaluronic acid to the skin. In higher concentrations, far exceeding the natural concentration that's found within the skin, is where you then start to see the irritation, you might see some redness, and it just becomes an unpleasant ingredient. And so even if you go for something like the ordinary hyaluronic acid, which comes at a 2% concentration, that's almost 10 times what the general required amount of hyaluronic acid is to combat dryness and irritation. I've seen some hyaluronic acid serums that go way, 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 way beyond that. And of course, if you're sensitive to it as an ingredient, that's just going to compound the issue. So to conclude, because I don't want this video to run on forever and ever and ever, and I do have some recommendations for hyaluronic acids I think could work in your skincare routine. To conclude, I would just really assess whether you need a hyaluronic acid serum in your life. If it's in every single step in your skincare routine, and it's pretty hard to avoid. If you go through your products now and have a look, it's going to be pretty hard to avoid hyaluronic acid. So question whether you need a standalone hyaluronic acid serum. Is your skin that dry? I don't believe anybody bar the super dry are actually dry enough that they need a standalone serum. Our skin tends to dry as we get old. As it matures, it tends to dry out. We tend to be more oily in our teens, and then it dries from beyond there. So anybody under the age of sort of 30, 35 that's probably got a reasonable amount of naturally occurring hyaluronic acid in the skin anyway, probably doesn't need that extra addition of hyaluronic acid. So cut back where you can. And also look at the products that you're using, the concentrations. It is really hard to find a low concentration hyaluronic acid. The challenge there is, products want to deliver instant results, that instant gratification we all crave, and the higher concentrations do that, which is why they tend to be found. It's quite a cheap, ingredient to incorporate as well. So companies tend to go for higher concentrations to deliver that powerhouse plumping straight away without really considering the longer term implications of that. So unfortunately, it can be quite hard to find. It is worth mentioning that for most people, the vast majority out there, hyaluronic acid isn't irritating, it doesn't cause a reaction, and we're absolutely fine to use. I'm one of those people that could use as much hyaluronic acid as I needed in every single skincare routine, and I probably wouldn't have much of an irritation. However, for people that have sensitive skin or a sensitivity to hyaluronic acid, it can actually be one of those ingredients that's causing sensitivity without you being aware of it causing sensitivity, because we are taught that it's benign and doesn't have any side effects. It's one of those safe to use ingredients. So maybe you want to look closer at the ingredients you're using and work out whether it might be hyaluronic acid that's causing that irritation. If I was going to reach for a hyaluronic acid to use, the two that for me work the best is the Marine Hyaluronics by The Ordinary. I really like this product because it's slightly lower strength. It's not strictly hyaluronic acid, it's a marine derived hyaluronic, so it's slightly different, and you can use it as little, and you've got a bit of flexibility for how often you want to use it, as you do with most serums, but I would just use a tiny amount when you're feeling dry and when you really need it. And if you are super dry skinned, you might benefit from the addition of this. It's a beautiful texture. It does sit on the skin, but it allows you to put other products with it, so it won't ball, pill and peel if you want to put skincare on top of it. If you're looking for a really good hyaluronic acid, and I think a lot of hyaluronic acids out there are cheaply manufactured, cheaply produced, we slap them on, we don't really understand how it's working, but we slap it on and think, oh, I look plump, my fine lines are diminished, it's great. And the products are cheaply formulated and a bit sloppy. If you want a proper, good quality, really robustly formulated hyaluronic acid that has a multitude of molecular complexes in there and different forms of hyaluronic acid, then I think the multimolecular hyaluronic complex by Neod is the standout. Again, I'd question whether you need this unless you're really dry. If you have super dry, dehydrated skin, this could be a real benefit for you. And what I would do is use this and then try to cut back on the other steps in your skincare routine that have hyaluronic acid in there. Try and find a hyaluronic-free alternative and then use this as a standalone, because this will honestly hydrate your skin in an instant. The multimolecular elements to it allow it to do a deeper level hydration, which you don't often get with hyaluronic acid, and it's just really well formulated and a standout product. I'll leave a link to it down below if you do want to check it out, as I will the Marine Hyaluronics if you want to give that a look. I'm not saying you need to just totally get rid of hyaluronic acid, but I think we should start to rethink our approach to hyaluronic acid and whether we need it in the quantities we're getting it in our skincare routine. Anyway guys, short, sharp, to the point. I hope you enjoyed this style of video. Leave me a comment. Let me know what your experience with hyaluronic acid is. Has it been breaking you out? Has it been irritating your skin? Do you find it leaves you more dry? Or is it a holy grail and you could not live without it? Leave me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. If you like this style of video, give it a thumbs up. I apologise for wearing a jumper. It's summer here in the UK. Normally I am sweating it out in a t-shirt on these videos in summer, but for some reason we've got a storm and it is cold, it's wet, it's rainy. It's like literally winter has arrived overnight. So apologies for the jumper and not looking too summery, even though it's the middle of August, but here we are. That's British weather for you. Wherever you are in the world, guys, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.